myself again. But it's the only...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. It's Friday night, which means it is 3 Amigos night, and as always I'm joined by Mitch and Steve Hastie. We've also got Ian Mearns, who's become a fixture on a Friday night when he's available, and during the pandemic that means he's available quite often, so welcome to you as well, Ian. As always though, on NUFC Matters, we're coming up to 12 months of the channel now, and Steve, what are those you've got on?
Sorry?
What are those you've got on?
What's he saying, Mitch? What's he saying?
You have no authority here, Jackie Weaver.
Fantastic, great stuff.
I think I'm in the Burton house, 5:30 start, beer, crisps, perfect, and then off to the Portland for 6, perfect.
I was getting worried there. I thought I was at Roswell for a minute.
There is a story behind those specs, but we'll go into it. As I was saying, we do listen to the fans of NUFC Matters. We've hit 34,000 subscribers today, which is immense in the first year of transmission. We want to thank everybody who's watching. But there's been a few complaints, it has to be said, about people presenting the show, and one or two complaints. So I do have to listen to people. So I thought I'll go through my little black book and we'll see who we can get in to present the three Amigos. We're going to have to get rid of one of you lads. So I'll give you a little clue as to who is going to come on and present for 5 minutes. Good evening, Alan Shearer. How are you? Good to see you, mate. Can you hear us?
How are we doing? You all right?
All good, Alan. All good. Thanks for joining us. Absolute pleasure to get you on NUFC Matters, mate. Although it's only for 5 minutes because I know you're very, very busy. What I wanted to get you on about was essentially to promote this wonderful, wonderful prize-winning opportunity that you've got on your Twitter account today, which is going through the Alan Shearer Foundation. I'm just going to put these prizes up, which I saw yesterday, and fantastic. If you just want to describe and tell us what these are, Alan.
Well, look, that's my top armband and boots that I wore against Man City back in February 2005, and when I scored my 250th Premier League goal. And like so many charities, the last 12 months has been so hard to raise any funds at all. And mine's no different to anyone else's. The Alan Shearer Foundation, which, if you don't know, is a respite home and activity centre for disabled. We got 12 residential rooms as well, which 7 have been used for the last sort of God knows how long, how many years. Yeah, they've been pretty much full. So it costs around £250,000 a year to give all of that away for free. So we've not been able to raise anything for a ball or for a golf day. So I just thought, what can I give away to try and raise a few quid? So I asked the kids if they minded if I give away my boots and my top and the armband that I've got, and they love the place as much as I do. So they all agreed, and here we are. It was just a matter of when we were going to put it on, and if the foundation would let me do that and give it away as a prize draw. So we're able to set it up, and it costs £10 a ticket. And as you say, it's on my social media, on Twitter and on Instagram. So I mean, the response yesterday and today has just been phenomenal.
£53,830 it's currently at on the givergy.uk website. If you get onto Alan Shearer's Twitter though, anyone who's a Newcastle fan should be on there already. But if you get onto that, Alan has pinned it at the top of his profile, and that's immense, Alan. In space of not even just about 24 hours, 53,000, and I mean that takes me back to our game together. I mean I've got that check up there. That is probably the proudest moment for me as a Newcastle fan when we did that game that I've just shown the goal to. You scored your very final goal in a Newcastle shirt, albeit a Newcastle Legends shirt, and we managed to raise £53,000 that day, and that was a lot of work. But to do that just by giving away one of your shirts, you might have to dig a few more out, Alan.
That's what people have said. I hope you've got a few more. That that we can give a prize draw as well. But we'll see, because it's got another couple of weeks to go. So hopefully it'll keep on raising money, because it's for an incredible foundation and means so much to me. As you know, I donated all my testimonial money back in 2006 to set it all up, and it's just been fantastic. I didn't want to just hand the money over, and I wanted to take an active part, which I do. I'm a regular up there to see how it's going, and just to say hello to all the staff. Obviously, I haven't been there since lockdown, because I'm not allowed to go up there for obvious reasons. But yeah, that was the last time I kicked a football, that game with me and you in that picture. I've never kicked one since, because I couldn't move for about 3 weeks afterwards.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be one of those pub questions in years to come. Who was the last player to score a goal for Newcastle Legends? It'll be you. I don't think I'll ever do any more of those games, Alan. That was what a great way to go out with you getting that goal. I'm trust you and your family are well. It's horrendous, isn't it? This for Newcastle fans at the moment, not being able to go to St James's Park, and I don't think we actually realised how much we would miss it until it actually happened, and so long without going to football. It's awful, isn't it?
Well, I've been one of those ones. I've been able to get into to the grounds because of what I do. Whether it's the league games or whether it's been the FA Cup games, I've been in a few grounds, and I mean if we didn't, or football didn't appreciate what fans mean to football, then they should do now, because I mean they have just been missed so badly. It's just not the same. I mean, football fans now should have a voice. Tickets should be cheaper whenever we get back, because they should realise how much fans mean to football.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. We're going to ask a question tonight, which is, people's favourite Alan Shearer moment, because obviously people will be watching the show for the next 2 hours. What was your favourite moment in a black and white shirt, Alan?
What a tough question. There's so many. I mean, scoring the goals in the semi-final was, I remember the Old Trafford, it was rocking. The feeling then was unbelievable. To get my first one in a black and white shirt, the last kick of a football really in professional life at Sunderland, going out in a goal. But I think the best moment has to be for me was breaking Jackie Milburn's record. I mean, I never ever thought I'd do it. To break the record of someone so iconic as him, and my dad's hero, me being from the area, it had to be that moment. I mean, I just can't describe it. The feeling I had when the ball went in the back of the net, it was just unbelievable.
I thought you were going to say me coming on as well for Pavel Srnicek in that first game. I remember somebody sitting on the bench giving us a load of abuse when that came on. And that's another pub question. I was actually Kevin Keegan's last ever substitute in football. It's no wonder he packed in.
Maybe that's why you've never played again.
Definitely. So, giverg.uk is the website. Please get yourself on Alan Shearer's Twitter account as well, because he's got a pinned at the top of the post. Let's try and smash this for Alan, because honestly, as Alan said, he's lost the golf day, he's lost so many things, like all charities have. But if you can help buy a £10 ticket in the prize draw, that is a piece of footballing history, a piece of Newcastle United history. Please help Alan and the charity raise as much money as you can. Alan, absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much for taking up the time. Love to your lass and the girls, mate. Take care.
Cheers, Alan.
Guys, all the best. Cheers. Nice seeing you. I saw you bottle of brown ale, by the way, Ian. I saw it, the testimonial one.
Aye, there it is. Still got it.
It's about time you drank it, though, isn't it? Might be a bit off now, is it? Or not?
Have you got any message for the NUFC Matters, NUFC Matters viewers, Alan, just before you go?
Well, it's great to be on. I mean, what did you say? 34,000?
Yeah, 34,000 on here now. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, very, very good. And hello to everyone, and thanks for having me on. It's great.
Top man. Great stuff. I'll let you get.
Cheers.
Good luck. Keep
all the best.
Keep up
Thank
the good
you.
work.
Have a good night. Cheers. Take
Bye.
care. Thank you.
Great to have Alan Shearer on. What a start to the show, lads, eh?
There you go.
What a start. What a start of the show. Absolutely fantastic to get Alan on, and please support his charity movements. We obviously support the food bank on here. We've done a little bit for children in need as well in our first year, but to get Alan Shearer on to plug his competition, that the raffle that he's doing is fantastic. So there you go, just a quick reminder of what you could win. £10 a ticket. It's worth a tenner. You're supporting a great cause. Captain's armband, the shirt and the boots. Piece of history right there in front of you. That could be yours if you can bid just that £10. Buy your £10 ticket. Talking of Newcastle legends as well, I have got another one coming on Sunday. Gavin Peacock will be joining me to talk about his new book, A Greater Glory, From Pitch to Pulpit. We'll also be pulling him as to why he's got a photograph of him wheeling away in a Chelsea shirt and not a Newcastle shirt. Don't worry, that's the first question I'll be asking, because I know a lot of people have already asked him on Twitter. So yes, you did hear us. You did hear us mention there, essentially, the running theme that we have tonight is going to be a new segment. That's really dramatic music, that one. But the big question is, what is your favourite Alan Shearer moment? So just send the messages in the chat and we will try and share them as much as possible. I am aware, because we've had Alan on, it's gone mental, and essentially we'll probably not get through all of these points tonight. In fact, we definitely won't. But we'll start, as we always do, with some of the points that have already come in. And this is an interesting one. I do want to start with this one. And Ian, you're sitting next to us tonight up there, so we'll start with you. Chris Smart says, evening lads. What do we make of Steve Bruce saying, when putting Atsu into the squad, because as we know, he had to make up his 25-man squad today, well, there's only him or Henry Savia to choose from, so it was pretty straightforward. Hardly a ringing endorsement of Atsu, and if I was Savia, I would be fuming. It's another classic from Steve Bruce, that, Ian.
Aye, Christian, what's his name? Aye, he said, well, who shall we pick? And he went, Atsu. And the other guy said, oh, bless you.
Well, Jeff Carter says, I liked ASM's our only creative player. That's another morale booster.
No, he didn't say that. He said, the only one we've got with a bit of creativity.
Wow.
What
Unbelievable.
Said, a bit of creativity.
Yeah. Mitch, it's not exactly the best thing to say, is it? Some of the stuff he's come out with has been an absolute car crash for press conferences, but that's not going to boost anyone's confidence, is it?
Mate, it's absolutely ignorant. It's totally disrespectful.
Right.
Those guys are professional footballers. Even Savia, and come on, if that's how you're going to talk about it, that's straight out the schoolyard, isn't it? That's straight out of turning around and saying, "Well, I'm going to pick him last." It's ridiculous. It's not right. It's a poor comment at best. It's an ill-thought-out comment at best, and I think it belies what's going on behind the scenes at Newcastle United at the moment. Really, it with him in charge. It's really a poor way to talk about professional footballers.
Yeah, it is, Steve. It's no surprise, though, is it really, to hear him come out with that kind of thing? I just don't think he puts his brain in gear.
No, it's like an Alan Partridge moment, isn't it? But it seems to have been going on for 18 months now, and it's getting gradually worse. It's the equivalent.
And it's not accidental.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of a Sunday game, and 10 of you turn up, and your name is sub, in the hope of your best player does turn up later on before the score gets too bad. It's the equivalent of that. It's now at the point where he's just sitting in front of the press, and stuff's just coming into his head. He's not engaging the brain though, and the words are just coming out, and it's just like, 20 years of experience as a manager has brought us to this. That's scary. That is scary.
It is. Tom Dixon, he brings up the fact that we've got a potential defensive injury crisis for tomorrow's game. And I mean, that's something which is more concerning. Ian, to be honest, Fernandez, Dummett, Lewis, major doubts. Clark's partner is actually going into labour. Obviously, Lascelles is injured. I talked about Matt Ritchie in the transfer window earlier this week. Being a blessing he didn't go. Looks like he's going to have to play left back tomorrow.
Aye, that's right. And of course, we've always got Atsu. He can play centre half as a defender. So for goodness' sake, it is ridiculous. But I mean, really, I'm afraid to say, with the 25-man squad, they've got to be over 22. I mean, it actually just shows you how weak our squad is. You know, it is a weak squad. I mean, I'm sorry, but I would kind of defy more than one or two of our players to be anywhere near the 25 in squads of the top 6 or 7 clubs in the Premier League at the minute. You know, who would walk into the squad of one of the top clubs at the moment? And there's nobody. I mean, I'm afraid to say even Alan St. Maximum, who's probably he's got a little bit of creativity in the middle of the park, according to Bruce. You know, I think he would struggle to get in the squad of the top sides, and that's where we are at the moment. We are really threadbare overall, and of course, you see, the thing is, this is Bruce's squad. He's been there 18 months now. It's his squad.
Yeah, well, this is it. You're right. Yeah, Mitch, the whole thing with the defenders, it's been something that's been hanging over us. You know, we seem to have been putting a elastoplast over gaping holes. But tomorrow looks like it's going to be a bit of an issue. And Southampton's injury list and suspension obviously was overturned as well. It looks as if they might be getting their act together. They're going to be like a wounded animal tomorrow, aren't they?
They should be, but if you look at their situation, they didn't have a full bench the other night anyway, and they had 2 keepers on the bench. They had 2 sent off, and one's been rescinded, so they're still not in great shape. Let's not beat about the bush with that. But at the same time, for our squad, it comes down to one thing: player management. How many times do you see a player being out with injury, he's brought back 2 games, and then he's out again for another 6 weeks? Mm-hmm. And it happens time and time again at the moment. I've been at work today. I've not had a chance to sit and rattle through the stats and look at some of that because I wanted to. But my feeling is, once again, we're dealing with players who are being brought back too soon, not being conditioned enough to put into the team, and just being chucked in at the deep end. And you're right, it's a good job we didn't let Matt Ritchie go, because it certainly looks like there's a good chance he's going to play at left back tomorrow.
Yeah.
If Lewis passes a fitness test, I'm not convinced about playing players with any kind of sign of hamstring injury, because they may feel right and they may pass a fitness test, but because of the stuff in sports medicine I've done and the conferences I've been to, I know that's not always the way to test it. There are other things and other ways you can test it, and we don't have that in our medical facility, so we can't be sure he's ready to go. He might last 15 minutes. And there's a waste of a substitution in a game that, frankly, as time goes by this week, looks more and more like a game we've got to win.
Aye.
And it's not just Ashley rolling the dice here; it's Bruce as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, Steve, it's a worry. It's a worry, and Steve Bruce doesn't seem to get that worry, does he? With all fans, scratching their heads a little bit, I think, with some of the stuff he comes out with. But you look at the list of players missing tomorrow, it is very much going to be, hopefully Lewis is fit, but he's going to be playing players out of position again, and that is concerning.
Yeah, it is, and defensively, it's not. You're talking about Ritchie staying. It's not just Ritchie. I mean, if the information that we received at the start of the week is anything to go by, then it could have been another one of our defenders could have been out the door as well.
Absolutely.
Sitting at the airport, ready to fly out, hanging around, just waiting for somebody else to come in. And once that player came in, then he would have been away as well, off to Italy. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want it, we could have been playing a debutant tomorrow, but he decided that he was better off going on loan to Liverpool from Schalke, and with a view to a permanent move for an £18 million. And Liverpool also snapped up a youngster or a younger player from lower down the league to fill their gaps. And I think, as somebody pointed out, Minamino's playing for Southampton tomorrow. Southampton have paid £500,000 for a loan deal till the end of the season for him, which means that I think Liverpool ended up getting 2 players in, 1 player playing out, and spent £1 million. We ended up with nobody coming in. We've got one lad, one youngster, untried, untested, 22-year-old, who's obviously not going to be permanent coming from Arsenal. But we very, very nearly lost one of our prime centre halves. This is the wheeling and dealing that's having to be played at Newcastle at the moment. And I was going to say we're getting used to it, but the injury crisis is what we're getting used to, because this seems to be perpetual now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations
it's a joke, isn't it?
congratulations to Muck Murphy. He's hit his target and he's 100 miles in 1 month for the Newcastle Food Bank. 100.5 miles done in 15 days and £779 raised. Challenge ends on my birthday, 16th of February. So I'm staying, going and seeing how many miles I can do. Well done, mate. Well done. Fantastic, yeah. Graham says, can I get Richard Masters to make an appearance so we can tell him some home truths? Yeah, Ian might ask him where some of these letters have mysteriously gone to when he's wrote to them, because he doesn't get many replies, do you, Ian?
No, well, we'll get replies, but you know, they're not answers; they're replies, and then there is a difference, you know. And I'm afraid to say, it really does. You know, there must have been taken lessons in duplicity from some other people that I work with, you know. But there we go.
Yeah, lots of Shearer moments coming in. Favourite Shearer moment: Big Al refusing to put the Mackem top on during Sports Aid, says Steve Bennett. Neil Straker says, how could we do with an Alan Shearer now? Favourite goal, the volley against Everton. Lots of them coming in. Paul Gibson, best Shearer moment for me is the volley from the edge of the box over Schmeichel's head versus Aston Villa, closely followed by the Everton volley. What's your favourite Shearer moment, Ian?
Well, believe it or not, it was a penalty. But it was when we beat Arsenal away 3-1, I think the 18th of December 2001.
Yeah.
And Bellamy was sent off and Paula was sent off. And Shearer scored from the penalty after Robert had been fouled. And, you know, and I saw Shearer a few weeks later and I had my ticket. And I said, Alan, will you sign this? And he signed me ticket from the Arsenal game. And, you know, so it was, you know, brilliant. Like, but because we broke our duck in London. It was 37-game non-win duck in London. Right. So from my perspective, I was in the, you know, in the clock end at Highbury and you know, broke our duck against Arsenal 3-1. You know, O'Brien near post for, you know, for the first goal. And Robert got the third. So, it was a great evening from my perspective. We had some interesting times later on. I think we went to a pub just on the main Holloway Road there, and we had a really good time after that game. Like,
yeah, exactly. What about you, Mitch?
Bit left field this one, but it's the Sheffield Wednesday game, the 8-0. Bobby Robson coming in, and Shearer turning around to Hullett and saying, "No, I'm still here, and I'm still bloody good." And that game was a huge turning point for the club at that time. And that was him reasserting his value to the club in every single way you possibly could, including goals. And for me, that's it.
Anybody who missed Alan Shearer, you can always rewind the show and watch it later on. Alan will be coming back on, which is good news. He's going to wait until the raffle is drawn, and he will come back on and answer a few questions. Right. But tonight, I just wanted to get him on and promote, you know, essentially the raffle for him. We'll continue to support it and promote it up until it's drawn, and Alan might open it up for a few questions from the fans. We'll probably stick it up on our Twitter and do that. But great to have Alan. Great to have Alan on.
Is he going to give me prize live on Yelling? That's fantastic. That.
Yeah, mate. You never know. You could win. You got to be in it to win it. Any of us could win. Steve, your favourite Shearer moment?
You know, there was 206 of them. Every goal he scored was absolutely brilliant. But for me, I mean, the two goals that have been mentioned, absolute classics. The Everton goal, the Villa goal, that came up on the screen here. But the noise and the sheer constant noise that went on after that 206 goal when he broke the record in the stadium, it just went on forever. It just seemed we're still singing it at 7:30, weren't we? You know, probably afterwards, that type of thing. That whole thing, especially with the build up to it, that had been going on for a couple of weeks, and they talk about Keegan and Keegan's first goal when it got sucked in by the Gallagher end. You know, it was as though that goal had also been sucked in by the Gallagher end, you know, because everybody, every time he touched the ball, people were willing him to put the ball in the back of the net. So for me, the noise that came with that was just euphoria like you've never known.
I'll tell you another moment for me as well, mind. Proving that Roy Keane wasn't the hard man everybody believed he was.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest moments in his time at Newcastle. Not football related, but great one to watch. Big shout out to our new sponsors, Spider VPN. They're going to give us a wonderful prize each match day live. They are going to give away a router, a Spider VPN router, and 12 months free subscription. So that starts tomorrow with our match day live against Southampton. Big shout out to the lads for that. Big shout out to Jab, of course, Jab Signature, who do all of our logos and posters and mock up the 3 Amigos posters. And last but by no means least, a big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend and Newcastle, who also make our wonderful t-shirts and our wonderful mugs, which you can get at newcastlelegends.com. Transfer window. Yeah, go on.
I presume Supermax entering that one, is he?
Yeah, yes, he is. Yeah, Malcolm does his little bit of promotion for the t-shirts, but he definitely needs a new router, mate. You're not wrong. So he does need to enter that competition. I think there's no doubt about it. Get him on pre-match and get that sorted. So
it was before your team, Steve. Wasn't it? It was before your team when Malcolm made his home debut when he scored the hat trick against Liverpool.
Yeah, well before my time.
I enjoyed that, man. That was cracking. It was really, really good. That I think I was about 16 or 17 then. But
did you see the vid? You might not have caught the show with Malcolm last night. Obviously, he had problems with his router and his internet. No problem there. But we did manage to show him these clips, and I've got no hesitation. Lee sent us this on Instagram, and I've got no problem with showing this again. Watch this. This is the kids at a Newcastle futsal doing a little bit of Supermac impersonation. So here we go. I can still talk over this video as well, which is quite good. So this is the goal. You'll remember this goal, lads.
Oh yeah.
Oh aye.
Bolton. Aye.
Right. What a great goal that is, by the way. Aye. Malcolm at his very best. Right. So anyone who doesn't know what Malcolm can do, that's it. Now watch these kids in Newcastle. Here we go. Not so good, that one, but this one, watch it.
Oh.
Banged it in. This kid. Too many bounces. This is a good one. Goalkeeper, I think. Boof! Follows it up though, watch. Bang! Brilliant that. Honestly, it's wonderful. Wonderful to see kids having a go at something which you would think is almost impossible to do. But Malcolm made it look easy. But yeah, fantastic that.
Wasn't Siddle playing in goal for them that day, and was Allardyce playing as well?
Yeah, yep. Sam Allardyce was playing that day.
Yes.
I think didn't we then we won that game ended as a draw, didn't it? And then we got them to replay, and then we end up playing Derby County in the 6th round straight after the League Cup final, and we had a load of injuries, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think we threw a young lad in goal as well, and we thought, well, I don't know about you were exactly the same as me at the time, Ian. We thought we were on our way to Wembley again in another cup final because it all seemed to be falling into place, and then I think it was about a flu or something like that did win the 6th round, and we got knocked out. And that just summed up Newcastle, and you see the state of the pitches as well, But
I tell you what, the Burnden Park, what a dump. I mean, that end that we were in, it was just basically like a mound of mud, and it had like paving stones being held back by big metal stakes to stand on. I mean, honestly, of course, it was full of Newcastle fans, but what a dump Burnden Park was. But there you go.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about the transfer window, Ian. Not a great deal of activity at Newcastle, but it has to be said, not a great deal of activity anywhere. And I did predict this because January is not the busiest of windows, but then with Brexit and new regulations and COVID especially, clubs are going to be very reluctant to go out and spend big. And I think my biggest surprise wasn't at Newcastle this transfer window; it was more at Liverpool because of the crisis they have got at the back. I thought they would have really gone out and tried to strengthen with a big name signing, but nothing really forthcoming. We, of course, bring in a player from Arsenal who's not getting a game. He's a midfielder. He can play in a variety of positions. What was your take on him? And we finally got rid of a couple of people who were, just taking a wage for nothing.
Well, that's always welcome. Getting people out, who are, getting paid. But it's all about opportunity cost, isn't it? It's money going out of the club. But I mean, we'll see what he can do. I'm not massively familiar with him. I think he's got 11 goals in the Premier League. Is that right? 11 goals for the club. From midfield. Look, he may be better than some we've got now, so therefore a reasonable squad player. But I mean, given Bruce's overall assessment of our midfield capabilities, he may be better than all of them.
Yeah, well, look, at the end of the day, it's a signing. It's a positive one. We just have to hope, that he can get in and make a difference, and he doesn't end up bruised or just sitting on the bench and doing nothing, which sometimes these loan players do. What's your take on the transfer window, Mitch?
I think it reflects everything that's happening in football at the minute, in particular football finance. There is a big crisis in football at the minute in terms of money. That's why there's not many big money spends being made. In terms of getting Willock in, I seem to remember Willock being very good against us when we played Arsenal last time. So if he can be that good for us in our midfield, that's a positive. I think he's got more pace than anybody we have in the midfield, and that seems to be something we're crying out for, because the gap from the front two or one to the midfield seems to be ever and ever bigger. Callum Wilson sometimes just looked like Tom Hanks on a desert island, and so we need somebody who's got the ability to catch up with him.
Wilson was the ball.
Wilson exactly. He was the ball. And so. And do you know what it is? I've tried to find a clever way to get that in, and I've never been able to. And so it's positive. It's got to be positive in that sense. I know we missed out on the Turkish lad, but the cost of that Turkish lad coming in would have been Shearer going.
Mm-hmm.
We have it on very good authority. His luggage was at the airport. The plane was booked, and he was off to Rome. So you take your pick of which one of the two clubs he was going to. And one of the clubs is very next to, our training ground is next to the airport he was flying into, so you can work that one out yourselves as well. So that would have come at a cost that I don't think we could have handled at the moment for me. But however, I do think it came at the cost of Shearer's head being all over the place the other night.
Yeah.
It's just a personal opinion, mate, but and so in terms of that, but in the bigger picture, the transfer window, Liverpool have had to, yes, they've got the Turkish lad in on loan, but they've then had to dip into the Championship. Why have they had to dip into the Championship? Because the finances in football right now are not what everybody believes them to be. The only reason Liverpool have made profits in the last couple of years have been big money signings out with Barcelona and clubs like that. Now Barcelona are £700 million in debt. They're not going to be signing players for 100 million from Liverpool.
No.
And so the money go around that's happened in football over the last couple of years, and the name that springs to mind for me is David Luiz. What has he done to justify a transfer from Chelsea to PSG and then a PSG to Arsenal over 3 years that came to nearly 200 million? Is he really that good a centre-back? We all know he's not. However, that was part of a money go-around between the big clubs in Europe that kept the books balanced and everything looking quite rosy. And that money go-around is now slamming to a halt, while Inter are scrambling for money. We're seeing all sorts of quite interesting stuff happening. Then you look at recent reports about what Fenway Sports Group are trying to do with Liverpool at the moment. And when you own multiple things and they own multiple sporting clubs, you've then got to look at what's happening with other multiple owned club owners. So take, for example, Kraft, the owner of New England Patriots, the American football team. Well, the Patriots are getting everything chucked at them to ride out the post-Brady era. Their football club, the New England Revolution, were promised a new ground, they were promised this. It's not happening. And it's never going to happen post-COVID. Even from money from the States, where that's one of the few places at the minute that seems to be able to make acquisitions in football. We'll probably touch on Burnley's new owners in a little while and what they have done. But there's also one of the big young stars in Brazil has just been signed by an American club, because the club in Brazil are desperate for bloody cash. And this is what's happening. You know, and we hear about what's happening in the Northern and Southern leagues, talking about suspending their seasons yet again. But the problem in football at the minute, which is shown by a number of different things, and again, we'll probably talk about this later on, is that the money just isn't there now. And it's hurting, and the clubs are hurting, and the leagues are hurting. And so there's absolutely no wonder that this January transfer window has been a bit of a bust all around, because the money's not there to make it happen.
No, definitely not. Steve, your take on the transfer window, and you know the ever-changing face of football. I suppose really, it's not football as we know it.
Yeah, I question bringing in a young lad, 21 from Arsenal, when we've got young lads in our squad who manager won't give a look into, who have regressed, according to many fans, over the last 2.5 seasons. And that worries me, you know. It worries me that we've got Sean and Matty, fantastic potential, and they're not getting a look in at Newcastle. So Newcastle have gone out and picked up someone with potential from Arsenal, and only until the end of the season as well, just to fill a gap. Why? What's going on there? You know. But has there been fallings out? Are the lads just not pulling up trees in training? What is the whole reasoning for it? Knowing Bruce, Willock will be on the bench tomorrow. You know, nothing would surprise me. It would not surprise me after 2 days training that he really stuck him on the bench. And if you listen to his press conference earlier, you'll have heard him say that the team basically picks itself. What? Picks itself? Dear me, where's that from? You know, another Bruceism, another Partridge moment. You know, a team of professional footballers with now 4 coaches to look after them, and yet the team picks itself. I just don't know what that statement means, to be quite honest. But I'd like to ask Steve Bruce what he meant by that statement, but I doubt even he would have an answer for it. Quite frankly, it's just embarrassing, Steve.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've been watching a few of these press conferences just as well, you know, just to make sure that it's not just Steve Bruce who's getting away with this. And I've got to be honest, they're getting more and more stir crazy, the managers. I watched obviously the Sean Dice one, which is doing the rounds, which was absolutely hilarious, where he started going on about lookalikes. I watched Pep Guardiola today, and he just didn't want to be there. And, you know, he obviously doesn't enjoy lack of face-to-face contact. It's all done over Zoom and other like, you know, like ways that you can communicate over the internet. And he was being asked about something rather controversial that Klopp had said, which was that, you know, Man City had 2 weeks off. Well, I mean, they didn't have 2 weeks off. They had COVID. You know, they were told they couldn't play. But he was asked that question, and he just, you know, he wasn't very happy. You could tell. But it is a changing world. Let's change tact a little bit. Move away from the transfer window, and let's go to Dubravka Darlow, because it's something which keeps cropping up on my timeline. People are talking about it in the chat, Ian. You know, I again don't think Darlow's done anything wrong to be dropped, but there seems to be a bit of a push now from you know, quite a few fans to say you've got to play your best players, and Dubravka is the better goalkeeper. Would you agree? Do you think maybe there's a sway of opinion now to say that we should put Dubravka in?
I think if it had been a different scenario where we'd only won 1 game in 13, I would have said Darlow would keep his place. But that's, you know, we're not winning games. And, you know, it seems nobody else's place is kind of sacrosanct, probably except Wilson up front. And, you know, I think there have been errors, undoubtedly. So from my perspective, I would say, given the recent track record, the goals that we've conceded, the lack of clean sheets, that I would make a change at the moment. And I'm afraid to say, I think that it's a situation. Sometimes you've got to make difficult decisions. You know, I think Darlow's done us pretty well this season, while Dubravka's been out the whole time. But I think if Dubravka's fully fit, I would put him back in at this stage now. Like,
yeah, okay. What's your take on that, Mitch? Dubravka or Darlow?
It's really difficult, because for me, you know, you look at all the stats about what Darlow's done. Take the stats away, just look with your eyes and see how well he's played. You know, we could have conceded a hell of a lot more goals in a hell of a lot more games. And he's played really well. And it's very difficult to take a keeper in form like that and say, right, well, I'm dropping you because you're not number one. However, if Dubravka is number one and he is fully fit, he should be in the team. And that shouldn't be a question. That takes leadership. And I don't know if we've got that. You know? The elephant in the room is Freddie Woodman. What do we do next season when he comes back? And then we'll have a three-way question. Because Freddie Woodman, everybody at the England level is saying this lad is beyond good. And everybody at Swansea rates him again beyond good. Will he constantly and perpetually be put out on loan because we can't make a decision about what to do about goalkeeper? It's a really difficult question for me. And then it comes back to the arch gambler, Mr. Ashley. I'm amazed he didn't. If there was an offer for Dubravka in that transfer window, I'm amazed he didn't take it. Because, you know, that for me would have been, in the situation that Mr. Ashley's in, the easy way out. But at the end of the day, if he is our number one keeper and he is fully fit, he's in the team. And like I say, that needs leadership to make that decision. Do we have the right kind of leadership to do that? I'm not convinced.
Yeah. Okay, Steve, what's your take on the Dubravka-Darlow debate?
Exactly the same as Mitch. Darlow's number one. Dubravka's number one. Darlow is number two. Goalkeeping, it's a totally different situation to an outfield player. You know, you're only competing against maybe one, two other people for your place, and there's they know their place, and you as a number two are there to perform just as well as the number one while the number one is out. The number one comes fit, he then falls back into the team. And that's the way I've always looked at it from a goalkeeping point of view, because that's the steady position that you need to be in. And as Mitch says, it takes leadership. And it's a cop-out when you go, well, the lad's doing well, so I'm not going to take him out of it. To me, it's a cop-out. So,
well, Steve, all that's going to do is piss Dubravka off.
Yes, exactly. You're number one. You know, the one who was named number one at the start of the season, and he's expecting. He's been injured through no fault of his own. In fact, there was always a school of thought that he was injured, because when he came back from being on international duty, that he was forced to train for a few days while informing the management that he had an injury that they said he would be able to run off. So yeah, the lad is fit. He's ready to come back in. So in my eyes, he comes back in because he's your number one goalkeeper. Thank you, Darlow. You've done your job. That's what your job was as a number two, to cover for the number one until he's ready to come back in. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And as Mitch says, it takes somebody with a bit of leadership, and I'm not quite sure whether he's got the cojones to do that, I've got to be honest. I just want to ask you your views on this. We've seen plenty of pictures of Brady, and I did see this today. Does that mean anything for the takeover?
Dear me, I think somebody's got half a loaf missing there. Like,
I mean, I got some you know, when you put something up as a joke on Twitter, you've got to be prepared for people taking it seriously. And I did have some people actually analysing that, Mitch. I mean, I'm not sure what people are. The miles apart, or you know what's going on there. Nick, I did copy Nick DeMarco in, but I didn't get a response.
Yeah, I should know of old. Sometimes I'll put something on Twitter, and then I see some of the responses, and I think, "Oh God, what have I said?" So you know, it happens. The whole bread thing, dear me. The series and a half of a comedy show, and that's not just the one that we used to be on in the mid '80s. You know, I get why people get frustrated by cryptic tweets, but sometimes that's all certain people can do. because if they come out and say something else, they're either going to blow the gaff, utterly upset a situation that they then have no control over, or start a firestorm that they can't rein in. And the problem, or the other problem with Twitter is you can't be flippant or sarcastic anymore.
No,
because everybody jumps all over it at the moment. And to be honest, that's why I've been a lot more quiet of late on Twitter, because sometimes I want to say stuff and I just think, nah, it's going to be interpreted the wrong way, so I'll just shut my mouth. It's super frustrating, but equally I get that, and that comes back to what we've talked about for a long time here, about divisions within the fan base, and everybody's on a sort of hair trigger, and so, you know, you say something that could be misinterpreted, and then suddenly there's a shitstorm heading your way. And so I thought you were quite brave to put that out, because I knew you'd get some interesting responses.
To be honest, I didn't get as much stick as I would normally get. My Twitter's quieting down a bit, but I just think that's because I've faced things head on and not cowered away and just ignored things. So, maybe that's a positive for me. But yeah, Steve, I mean, the bread pictures have been interesting, but I think it's been a very quiet week, and people, come to the Liam Kennedy show on a Tuesday night to get information on the takeover. There's a few questions in there already about, what's happening with the takeover. Any news? Well, there's not any news this week. There's been absolutely nothing. The jungle drums have been quiet, if you like, and there hasn't been anything that I've heard this week that would have that's suggested that it's moved further forward or it's gone back or whatever. So yeah, putting the bread photo out was a bit of humour, and that's all it was. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I was scared stiff to tell everybody that our toaster had broke, in case they insinuated that the takeover was toast as well.
Yeah.
No, you know what, Steve? People, whether you want to talk about the takeover or not, you're going to get stick. Right now, the takeover and the situation with the takeover and with NCSL, etc., is still ongoing. Nothing's changed. I think you said nothing's new, nothing old. We're not going to talk about it, but nothing's changed. Everything's still moving forward. So we just let it go. We just let it follow its path, and see where it's going to take us. There's an awful sort of situation built up over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks with like people wanting to take sides about a takeover, or sides about people involved in a takeover, and it's just getting absolutely weird. I've never known a situation like this in all my years, where people are now sort of like, I want to take over, but I don't want to be behind those, and I want to take over, so I'm 100% behind that. It's just like it's not polarized as such, but it's just a weird situation.
Steve,
Yeah.
Look, we suffered some of this when we formed NUFC before it became NUST. Do you remember some of the stick we got outside the ground when we were handing leaflets out?
Yeah.
I remember poor Peter Whitfield ended up nearly being arrested because of something, because of what some other fans said, and pointed a copper in his direction. It's ridiculous. And so it's nothing new at all. It's why we decided to do the road shows as NUSC become NUST, because the only way you can do something like that is to engage with people. Even if you disagree fundamentally, you can engage, you can talk, you can have a sensible conversation. You can't do that on social media. You can't, and I've decided that now that's gone for me. It's impossible to do that now, because it becomes so polarized, so entrenched, and it's almost so aggressive in a short period of time that it's almost not worth doing it. But I still want to try and reach out and engage and have sensible conversations with people. It's not everybody's style, it's not everybody's way. I know what my style is, and I'm quite happy to roll with it. So we've seen it before. I just feel like it's become magnified over the last six to 12 months. And it still comes back to the divisions that were hammered into place under Ashley 10, 12 years ago. And those fissures, instead of healing, have become weather-worn, entrenched, and had wedges hammered into them. And I tell you now, when the Ashley era ends, because it will, one way or another, it will. It's up to people like all of us who are involved in any way, shape, or form with fans groups, with fans groups, with organisations, the trust, and beyond, to sit down and help those divisions heal. And that's going to take a long time. And I've said this, I think you guys have heard me say this on this channel before. That's going to take time. And it's going to take understanding. And it's going to take the ability to turn the other cheek. It's going to take the ability to bite your tongue. Myself included, for God's sakes, I've bit my tongue for years. And Steve knows that. And beyond. But there's a reason for it, because there's no need for it. The one thing we all want is the betterment of Newcastle United, not just for ourselves, but for everybody that supports the club, for the region, for the city, for everything else the community represents. That beacon that sits in the centre of the city. When I'm being an expat now, I wish I had the understanding of expat fans that I had when I was chair of the trust, because I would have done a lot more.
Yeah, look, there is always going to be people
when you're away from the city, you look to that club. That's me. That's me. That's my identity. That's the beacon I should look to say, this is me, this is us, we are we, and we're united. And sometimes it's bloody embarrassing at the moment.
Yeah, it is. And look, Adam Telford, he comes on a regular basis, and his views are, he's critical of the Saudi Arabian, bid. Saudi Arabia are amazing, aren't they? Multiple human rights violations, how they treat the LGBTQ community. Look, that's the other side. That doesn't mean that Adam doesn't want the best for the football club. That doesn't mean that he doesn't want to see Newcastle United do well. He has issues with who is trying to buy the club, and I fully understand that. We're going to have a little bit later on the show at about 7 o'clock. Ian Pearson's coming on. Now he is the chair of the United with Pride, and United has one ambassador. He's a big Newcastle fan as well, so I'm looking forward to getting Ian on. He's going to give us a little bit of an insight into the United with Pride idea, the concept, and the kind of stuff that they've been doing at Newcastle United and at the ground. So he'll be able to talk about that. But look, Adam, great points. You always make good points. You always make them well made, and that's what it's all about different opinions. Of course, plenty of comments coming in about Alan Shearer. Loads of people saying, Dubravka, is way more vocal. He's a better organiser. Mark Cooper says Dubravka has a better presence at the back than Darlow. David Crone says that results haven't been down to Darlow, which is fair enough. Kirk says the goal when he failed to use his arms upset him. Tough choice, but Dubravka gets the nod. Darlow doesn't seem confident on crosses. 9 out of 10 he punches it, says Adam McCarthy. Derek Rivers says, yeah, we do. We need leaders. Dave Eddy says Dubravka, Darlow's distribution is bang average. And B Taylor again says Dubravka all me. So really, it does seem as if most people would agree that it is time essentially to get him back in. Let's go to John Askew's question though, to turn things round again. Ian, lads, 2 questions. He says, firstly, who's picking the team? Secondly, who's deciding the tactics? Bruce or Jones?
Well, there's been a marked change since Jones came in, and as I was saying to you last week, Stevie, something's changed, and if they've been working on this change of tactics for several weeks now, why was it only in the second half at Leeds that it started to look like that? I don't know. It looks like there's a change of emphasis and a change of influence. It may be that they're doing it together. I don't know, but there's that lack of decision making. Are some of the players now still too big for the decision making at the manager level. I mean, for instance, look, I'm not a fan, but Shelby scored a good goal the other night. But actually, after that, he never kicked another ball hardly in the whole of the game. I thought he was awful for the rest of the game. And now, I mean, I think that was a decision crying out to be made much earlier. To get the old hook on and pull him off and put somebody on that's actually going to provide you some legs. So, look, I don't know, but there has been a change. I think the performances have been better. Certainly Everton, the second half against Leeds. And look, and despite the fact we got beat, we played better against Palace than we were playing a month ago. So from that perspective, there has been a change. Who knows? Who knows? I'd love, you can't say for certain. You can't say it for certain, but it looks like there's been a change since Graham Jones came in.
Definitely does, doesn't it, Mitch? I mean, just the stats. Yep. I mean, the win against Everton was the best game of the season for me. That was our best performance. Yep. Typically, as Newcastle fans do, we all got carried away, all expecting a win on against Palace, and then we lost. But it wasn't a bad performance. It wasn't a worse performance. The first half, we should have put our chances away. Second half, we weren't at the races. But the stats told you that we were pushing on. We'll give it a go.
Second half, we didn't have a clue. We couldn't break them down. We didn't know what to do. We had nobody who had the ability to make an incisive pass, make a difference, or actually create something. It's as simple as that. In terms of that series of questions, in terms of who picks the team, who decides the tactics, etc., I don't know, and they won't tell us. Mm-hmm. Is the simple answer. It is an absolute, to use a phrase that I love, clusterfuck. Mm-hmm. And if you look at Bruce's body language in the press conferences when they ask about Jones, I think that speaks volumes, absolute volumes. I'm not impressed with it. And if you can't have unity in the leadership team, how are you going to have unity on the pitch?
Yeah.
Who could make the decision to take Shelby off? Because he needed taken off. He'd scored a great goal. Let's make no bones about it. That's the kind of thing Shelby can do. And that's the frustration with Shelby. Shelby can be that player and he can be a hell of a lot more. And consistently, he could be a hell of a lot more again if he was consistent. But he's consistently inconsistent.
But the sort of game he plays, Mitch, the sort of game he plays pinging the long pass, when Palace retreated in the second half, there was no room for anything.
That's not going to do anything. Absolutely. When you're facing a bank at 10, that's not going to do naught. So you need somebody who can do something different.
Yeah.
So where's that decision coming from the leadership team? We've got a manager who's got more assistants than bloody Sainsbury's. And so, again, where's the leadership? Who's making the decisions? When you look at the body language, with him next to Jones in the dugout over 2 games, it's very telling for me. It's really difficult to assess what the hell's happening and why certain decisions are being made. Let's be honest, have we been done again in sort of a Steve Bruce style, where we paid to get him on board when he was going to be sacked anyway. Then we've got Jones on board. And then 2 weeks later, the manager he was working under has been sacked as well. And there's a damn good chance we would have picked him up for nothing anyway. What's going on?
Well, Mitch, I suggested to Steve last week that maybe Jones had been brought in as a potential caretaker manager once Bruce was after the Everton game. I was thinking, well, might have a situation where Jones comes in as a potential caretaker manager, but actually saves Bruce's bacon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've been given 2 other potential scenarios. That one is Eddie Howe, has a clause with Bournemouth that he won't poach any of their staff while he's out of the job. So they've got hold of Jones before they bring him in. And the other one is the connections with Martinez and Jones. And so has he been brought in ahead of a potential sacking and then it's somebody like him being put in? I don't know. and I get why these theories, stroke whatever, are doing the rounds, because the simple reason is we're trying to make sense of a nonsense.
Yeah.
As fans, we're looking at this situation and we're going, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Because just the only great saving grace is he's not named Steve. Because he's got Agnew and Clements and Harper.
Maybe that's why they brought him in.
God knows that. Do you know what? That's as sensible an answer as anything else I've been suggested in the last 2 weeks. Really, Steve, it is.
Mitch, let's have a quick pause. It's your tune look-alike moment. So cue the music. So, Mitch every week picks a tune look-alike. Who we got today?
It's Drake, and it's Leon Best.
That's,
for me, with that quote, that's fantastic.
That is Mitch's tune look-alike this week. More of that next week.
That music, it's great.
It is. It's just like George and Mildred, and I don't know, all of those 1970s sitcoms rolled into one. Steve, we're not going to have a glasses feature. I know there's lots of people clamouring for it, but just tell us the story behind those glasses, man.
I got them from John at QTech. John at QTech, everybody knows, is very heavily into snooker. But John sent us these during the week. They're actually signed by the Grove world champion Dennis Taylor.
Fantastic.
So an autographed pair of Blackpool special sunglasses. Yeah.
Well, John from QTech, it's fantastic that. Thanks for that, John. And John from QTech and I will hopefully. Well, look, he's got his Blue Brothers ones on, Ian.
There you go.
They're not signed by somebody famous, are they?
No. Pierre Cardin, I think.
And that works more than anything now because he's just died, So.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, that's great. John from QDEC does a lot of work with the former snooker players, and once we ever get back to some kind of normality, we will be bringing a very special event which will involve Newcastle players and former snooker players. So watch this space for that. Big shout out to my mate John as well, who's opened Chick Stack in Newcastle. It's on Deliveroo, and it will very, very shortly be on Just Eat. So if not, and you're looking for something a bit tasty, get yourself onto Chick Stack. Give that number a call and order tonight. Very, very nice food it is too. Plenty to get through in the last hour. Ian, are you leaving us or are you going to stay for a bit?
I can stay for about another 10 minutes, mate, but I'm on culinary duties.
Oh yeah, now what are you making tonight? This is another little added extra. Ian the chef bit. So what are you making tonight?
Well, something vegetarian. But believe it or not, Steve, me and me missus, we've gone vegan for February. So
wow.
It's a weight loss thing. So
all right.
So we're going vegan for February, and we've been vegan since Monday. And so we'll not be getting anything from Chick Stack, I'm afraid. But give them another mention.
Yeah, good stuff. It's open now, Chick Stack. Give them a ring and get yourself on. Big shout out to me pal John. Go on, Mitch.
The fridge is my oyster. So there we go.
See, Ian, I've been vegetarian for about 3.5 years now, mate. And it makes a massive difference to your life, honestly. And it's not before anybody out there starts going, oh, he's like an animal lover and things like that. For me personally, it's not about ethical things. It's about what it does to my body. And seriously, I've lost weight, have more energy, and feel a lot better eating like that.
Good stuff. Big shout out to John as well, who got this for his birthday, an NUFC Matters t-shirt, his last bought. So big shout out to John. He's a regular viewer, watcher of the show. I'm glad you like it, and thanks to QTech for getting it to you in shape. And I did have to have a laugh at this cartoon, lads. I did check to make sure it comes up. This was very funny. I don't know if you saw it in one of the newspapers this week. Thought Newcastle winning their first game in 11 was proof that the Premier League had truly jumped the Shark. Remember, they were playing Everton. The victory was timely for Steve Bruce, who has recently seemed on the verge of going the full Frank Grimes. So it's got Steve Bruce saying, look at me, I'm the mighty Rafa Benitez. And then he goes, I play ultra defensive football, but no one criticises me because I'm Rafa Benitez and I've got rosy cheeks and a little beard. And I can yank hold of John Joe Shelby's ears and I'll be fine because I'm Rafa Benitez. I think that's brilliant, that, like, absolutely hilarious. It does have that kind of mad feel to it, doesn't it? Because he constantly brings them up and mentions them. Yano, good evening. He says, what is the logic behind Gale coming on when a side is sitting deep? Steve Bruce hasn't got a clue. I was surprised to see him come on the other night, Ian, because he's been sitting on the bench for so long I forgot he was even there. Yeah, well, I mean, it's... The tactic's not working. You change the personnel and then you play the same tactic. I'm sorry. It's just, it's as Mitch said, trying to make sense of a nonsense, and you just can't see it really. I mean, the tactics against Crystal Palace in the second half, I just thought were naive, absolutely naive. And that's trying to be kind, really. Yeah, okay. Michael G says, fully appreciate the comments about Saudi and their human rights track record, but PIF have invested in Disney and Facebook. Surely they are much more contentious than a football club. Interesting point, mate. Lots of
Steve, it's a really interesting point, but everybody's coming back to one thing. The separation of PIF and the Saudi state is about, in my opinion, nothing else about anything other than piracy. Mm-hmm. And if they can prove that piracy is done and it is not state sponsored, there will be no questions about MBS and his role with PIF. Full stop.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Ian, there was a question for you a little bit earlier, but I missed it. And it was just, has it quietened down in Parliament about the takeover? Is it still something that gets murmured along the corridors of power?
Well, I'm afraid to say I wish it was, but it isn't. I mean, the thing is, I'm still waiting for letters back from the sports minister, and I'm still waiting for letters back from the Premier League. But I'm afraid to say it's not something that's regularly talked about amongst all our parliamentary colleagues. There are, unfortunately, from the perspective of Parliament, there's other stuff going on, Stevie. To be honest, and
of course.
And I think with the best will in the world, whether or not people are in favour of or not in favour of the Saudi involvement in the takeover of Newcastle United, I think one thing people will be united about will be they cannot wait to see the back of Mike Ashley, because it's. I mean, I don't know of anybody who's a massive Mike Ashley fan now. So they just can't wait for that change to take place, and for him to go anyway.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Lots of comments coming in. This one from Rafa Benitez is God. Graham Jones played a diamond formation at Luton. We've played a diamond since Jones came in. Everton and Palace. We've never played a diamond before under Bruce. So well done, Jones. Lee asks view on VAR. So we'll make this your last question, Ian, before you shoot off and make your vegan meal. Is it working, VAR? Because there's a lot of, there just seems to be a lot more controversy than anything else for me. I don't really think it's working to the best of its ability.
No, I think it's not, and it just, I think we've still got a situation where even though the technology is instantaneous, are just taking far too long to make decisions. It's killing the spontaneity of the game, and it's the spontaneity of the game which makes it the beautiful game from my perspective. And if they're going to employ VAR, they've got to really hurry it up. End of story.
Yep, okay. Ian, I know your lass will be chomping at the bit for you to go and get the tea started. So listen, thanks again for joining us. Always great to have you on a Friday. Great to have you on your show on your own. We'll sort out what we're going to do next week with you, mate. But lovely to get you on again, mate. Take care. Stay safe this week, pal.
Ian.
I'm just going to go and get my head metaphorically kicked in for being late, okay? Right?
Just blame Alan Shearer.
I will. Cheers, lad. Thanks for listening.
Take care, mate. Good to see you.
Everybody. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Great to have you on. Fantastic guest as always. Steve, let's talk a little bit about this, because you sent us this over today. Just tell us a little bit about that. I mean, obviously the food bank, we support it, every week on NUFC Matters. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. There's a campaign been started over in Liverpool with Ian Byrne, the MP for West Derby. Smashing bloke. One of the founders of the Fan Supporting Food Banks, and also one of the founders and a big representative of the Spirit of Shanty. And him, along with the lads from the Blue Union, Dave Kelly, they are now pushing that there should be a right written down in law that everyone has a right to food. So there's a parliamentary petition ongoing. It's got about 40,000 signatures already. And all of the fan food bank groups dotted around the country, whether it's NUFC Fans Food Bank, whether it's the guys at West Ham, Huddersfield, Leeds, Man City, Man United, right across the country, they're all putting pressure on and encouraging their fans and their supporters to, first of all, sign the petition, which you can very, very easily by going to the normal places. And I've put it out on my Twitter account this afternoon, just before I come out on the show. And so far, what we're also encouraging fans to do is get in touch with our local councils and try and get local councils to back it as well. So far, the Manchester lads have been very successful with the support of Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, who, along with Liverpool and the support of the Mayor, Steve Rotherham, there are now two councils in the country who are promoting that everyone has the right to food. And I don't think there's anyone out there that would deny that being able to eat is one of the fundamentals of being able to survive and being able to live. So I don't think anyone can criticise that. As I say, once we get up to 100,000 followers signing the petition, then it gets raised. It can be raised in Parliament. Ian and the rest of the guys are doing an awful lot of work in that respect to get it there, and we're just doing our little bit with NUFC Food Bank to promote it and push it, and also to encourage our city council in Newcastle and hopefully the councils in Gateshead and North Tyneside, etc., to do exactly the same and support this particular cause, which I think is, as I say, a fundamental right of everyone. Everyone has the right to be able to have food provided for them by the state if necessary. So that's what it's all about. It's very simple. Football fans are becoming an awful lot more political. The ability of football fans to shape things, to shape their community. We've always talked about the football club being the hub and the central part of the community. Certainly we feel that at Newcastle. We feel as though with that cathedral on the hill, that is what we want to be. We want to be part of the football community. And I think the football community has a part to play within the city, and it's something that I feel very, very strongly about, and I know many other people feel very strongly about. It's we are proud of our football club, we are proud of our city, and we want to make sure that those who manage our football club at the top level and people who manage and provide leadership to our city are of the same mental brain as we are in terms of fundamental living conditions, Steve. So that's what it's all about. It's a great cause. It's very important, and I hope everyone can sign the petition.
Yeah, good stuff. You can find that Steve Hastie's retweeted it at Old Hetonian, on Twitter. So get on there and just do that, and I'll do the same, just so that we can all get behind that. And great cause. Don't forget, we have got our T-shirt up for grabs as well. It is this one. So if you go onto my Twitter at Steve Wraith, Mark Byers sent this all the way from America. He had it designed. And it's got all of our stuff on there. Phone a friend, think before you tweet, and United. And on the back, it's got all of our shows. So that was currently, I think, at £110. And those of you who tune in on a regular Friday night will, of course, know that it is quiz night. And Steve Hastie will be giving you the final part of the quiz just before 7 o'clock, so 15 minutes time. I will quickly go through the clues that we had in previous weeks. Now, this is for £100 in M&S vouchers, which has been kindly donated by qtechshop.co.uk. It is Win Something Tasty with Hastie. And the clues were given out on the 15th, the 22nd and the 29th. So today is the 5th, and of course the first correct answer in the live chat tonight will win the prize. So the first clue was that And the second clue was that. And the third clue last week was that. So you should have all of those 3 answers. And then Steve at 7 o'clock, he will be giving you the final one. And it'll be the first person in the chat. John from QTech will be watching with eagle eyes, so good luck with that. Also a shout out to the lads from Loaded Football Weekly. They did their 3rd show this week. It's available under Loaded Football Weekly on the playlist, so have a look at that. Well worth a watch, talking about other clubs, not Newcastle. And don't forget, tomorrow the Matchday Bucket will be up and running again to raise money for the food bank. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk. You don't have to be physically there to put money in a bucket anymore. You can do it online, and all that money going directly to the food bank. We have also got a little surprise for you. A lot of people know that I write crime books for a living. I've written a lot of books over the years, and from my perspective, it is something which I've always had an interest in. So what we've decided to do is I did have a couple of tapes of Reggie Cray, who I visited in prison over the 90s period. And what I've done is I've managed to knock up a track with a good mate of mine called Carl Douglas. And essentially, we have done a track for the food bank. So we're going to release it onto iTunes. It should be up there tonight. And you will be able to download the single and donate some money to the food bank that way. Something a little bit different, something which is a little bit funny. But once again, just us trying to make a few quid for the food bank in as many different ways as we can. And just delighted that everyone supported it. But I'll play out with that video tonight so you can all have a laugh and all enjoy that. So happy days, plenty going on. Don't forget as well, we've also got Ian Pearson coming on tonight to essentially talk about his involvement with United for Pride, which should be very interesting to everybody, I'm sure. You went through your old emails today, Steve. Just tell people out there what you actually found, because you found a few interesting emails, didn't you?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I changed laptops and I'd lost a load of emails and I'd never seen these, and I just was playing around and I just all of a sudden something clicked and all of these past emails suddenly appeared in me inbox, and I was like, where the hell are these? There's 13,500 of them. You can imagine what I was like, and suddenly getting an extra 13,500 emails. And one of them really struck home to me. This is remarkable. It's a series of questions that have gone to Newcastle United, right? These are the questions, and I'll just go through that. I'm going to read them out, but I'm going to edit them and then just sort of drop out, leave a few names out, and just see whether they strike a chord. These are questions that got submitted to the fans forum. Okay, first one was what progress is being made on the rebuild of the training ground at Dorsley Park? Yeah, well, that would be a good question we could put out today, Steve. That would be an interesting one. The second one, will the groundbreaking of the new training ground be postponed again due to the spending on new players and wages? In other words, is there enough money in the bank to improve the team and the facilities? So, yeah, I think that would fit in today, not a problem. How prepared and equipped is the club for the prospect of relegation? And if that situation arises, can we expect an exodus of players and another period of rebuilding to take place like we saw in 2009? The next one was that got put forward as we have the second worst record for goals conceded and the third worst record for goals scored in the Premier League. Only Aston Villa have won fewer games this season. With this in mind, why are the defensive frailties and lack of depth not addressed in the transfer window? Okay, that's pretty good. B, why was the club's lack of striking options not addressed in the transfer window? The hope and expectations that enveloped many supporters when the manager was appointed has now evaporated, with only 6 wins and 6 draws out of possible 26 being registered to date. Strategically, tactically, and organisationally on the pitch, we seem no better than we were in previous seasons. Are the board still of the belief that the manager can bring success in the short, medium, and long term? and what now measures success at Newcastle United? Well, I think that you could have raised that at his press conference today. Is it fair to say that the success of the manager is now simply to ensure the club retain Premier League status? Yeah, I think that would fit. With the top 10 target now simply a dream, because I think that was mentioned at the start of the season that we had a top 10 target. What changes do the board envisage making to ensure that those responsible for the missed target are made answerable for their failings? And the next one was, the club have frequently spoken about its transfer strategy, only targeting players that fill in with their philosophy and doing advanced homework on temperament as well as ability. Now, how, therefore, do they account for the failings of these following players? Cabela, Thuvan, Ben Arthur, Marvo, Riviere, Mbiwa, Ferreira, and De Jong. These questions were all submitted, right?
My God.
February 2016, right, at a fans forum meeting.
5 years ago.
Yep, and I think you could probably change those names, but apart from that, obviously McLaren was the manager. I think it was the 11th of March that the club found. I think at that meeting, those questions were all put forward, and on the 11th of March, the club decided to get rid of McLaren and appoint Rafa Benitez.
Wow.
And I think that would fit in. Well, I'll ask you. I know my opinion. Mitch, Steve, do you think that those questions would be relevant today? And do you think we would have the similar sort of opinion?
When you shared that with me this week, I went back through my archive emails as well. And fuck me, mate. It was like Groundhog Day. It really was like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
The same questions about training grounds, about connected thoughts about the future, about cohesive transfer strategies, all things that we then went on and have done with other people. Subsequently, about potential coming in and taking the bloody club over. Why we've done it that way? Because we've got learned experience like that. Mm-hmm. That we both have emails from the club that, let's just say, that ill-worded. I think that's the most polite way to put it. That ill-worded. And they're ill-worded by people who are being hamstrung by people above them. And it's the equivalent of sweeping the dust under the carpet.
That's a great analogy.
some of the fundamental problems in Newcastle United right now are the fundamental problems that have been there for the last 10 years. We've been challenging the club both above and below the radar for years. The three were in different ways at times. I still remember you being escorted down an escalator by Derek Lambias, while me and Steve were going up the opposite escalator, going into the same meeting we were all supposed to be in.
I don't know what's worse, getting flying down the stand at QPR or getting escorted down the stairs by Derek Lambias.
Well, exactly. Well, at least that was a little bit genteel. Go back to that. These are the problems we've been battling, again, on the radar and below the radar for years.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And when I go through some of my archived emails, I could cry. It's ridiculous because some of these arguments now are circular.
Yeah,
it's like
crazy.
It's like being in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that's basically what Tim said. Supporting the tunes like being in a circular universe. You're not wrong at all, mate.
I mean, you look at it. You look at it, and you read that out, and then you start to think about it, and then you start to question. Well, we're no longer asking those questions. We've asked those questions for years and years. None of the local media are asking those questions now. None of the mainstream guys, none of the people in the press conferences are allowed to even ask questions now.
No, they're not. It's controlled by Zoom, and they shut it down, and nobody can jump in and ask follow-up questions because it's all sanitized via Zoom along the lines of "You have no authority, Jackie Weaver."
Yeah.
And you know what? We would have been in a situation where these sort of questions would have been all over the Chronicle. It would have been on the front page of the Chronicle. And they probably were around about 2016 and certainly were around about 2009. But now in 2021, Steve Bruce is getting the most easiest of rides that I think that a manager could ever have.
Yeah.
But again, Steve, though, that's also because there's an empty stadium.
Yeah.
If that stadium even was half full, I think Steve Bruce wouldn't come out the dugout.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. I would agree 100%. Quickly, just want to point you in the direction of the subscription button. You want to get down and subscribe to the show, guys. If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, then just literally click that button and that will essentially take you to the subscription page. Just subscribe to the channel. That would be great. Give it a like as well. Over 700 people watching again tonight, which has been absolutely fantastic. Seems to be our average numbers now on a Friday. As I say, we'll never take you for granted. We love the chat. Everybody is very polite in the chat, and it's always great points that you make. So thank you for your support. But give the video a little like. Please comment as well, and please share. Share it. Takes it to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, and share it and just try and help build our community. Over another 300 people joined us this week. That gives us 34,000 numbers, and to be able to put that kind of numbers together for a podcast gets you the likes of Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer happy to come on because he knows it's going to get the word out and it's going to publicise something that he's doing for the good of his charity. So, we are the biggest Newcastle United podcast. I would never say we're the best, but we're just one that you obviously appreciate, and without you would be nothing. So thank you very much for your support. As always, we have at this time of night, Steve Hastie does his little side of the show, and it is Tweet of the Week. You need to be shuffling some papers or something when we get to that. So Steve, what? Yeah,
I'm going to say it's been a bit of a dull week, quite frankly. I don't know whether it's been the aftermath of what was a great result at Everton, and then a coming down to earth on Tuesday night. But I was looking for humour. I was looking for a bit of fun, and I think we all know that the fun has gone out to Twitter over the last couple of weeks within the fan base. But you're still looking for a little bit of an edge. You're looking for a bit of humour. And I think the most important thing with Tweet of the Week is that we can put a smile on people's faces. We saw it with Al Walid last week with Ben Jacobs, who responded, by the way, and has continued to respond. I noticed again today he actually put something out, and that's great. That's interacting with fans, isn't it? That's the humorous side. It's all done in a certain way, with a smile on our faces. So we've tried to find the humorous. We've avoided the abuse, of which there has been hundreds of thousands of tweets, and we've gone for the humour, Steve. So I'll let you.
Well, there is plenty. This one, first of all, today had me in hysterics. Genuinely had no idea that Luke Shaw and Ryan Fraser were mates, to be honest. bit tongue in cheek, that one. Yeah, we've got plenty here. This one is your. That was your Tweet of the Week, wasn't it? Yeah. So I've got that one. This one, Magpie 24/7, 60 Premier League games under Bruce. He's took a lot of time writing that tweet out, by the way, Steve, hasn't he?
Yeah, I thought that was great because you're looking at it and your eyes start to go, and then you look at it again and you look at it, and you still can't find 3 W's in a row. Amazing, Even when your eyes are going, you still cannot find 3 W's in a row.
Okay, this is your next one.
Yeah, anyone else just want the season to end? I can't handle 16 more games of this. Just give me 17th in the finish. See what's cracking with the takeover. That is. That sums us all
up. I think that's the sentiment, isn't it, through the fan base?
Toon Mad Mag at Toon Mad Mag gave that one. Carl Seggy, who does retweet a lot of my stuff, so a big thank you to Carl. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and this is a retweet as well. This is a retweet from Percy Cole, which is great. If we hadn't watched the last 3 games and only listened to Steve Bruce last night, you could be forgiven for thinking that we picked up 9 points out of 9. Which is true. You could.
Well, it is true. It is true, yeah. Second last one.
Yeah. This one, I mean, look at that. His career as a full-time influencer and part-time footballer at Newcastle has sadly ended. We'll, of course, be able to follow his career on Instagram.
So that's at Coming Home NUFC. Now, this one you've picked out as the winner.
There's going to be a competition for who actually saw Ashav Lazar play for Newcastle, isn't there? There's going to be... There's very few people out there that managed it, I bet.
Well, we had an interesting one from Andrei Avramov, who does our European, like our worldwide show, and he actually lives, of course, abroad. And 2 of the games he came to, he actually saw him play. So I think he played a combined minutes of 13 minutes or something. So this is your winning tweet.
This is the winner. This one, I thought this was great. This was absolutely brilliant. 87 million pints of beer have been thrown away by pubs since the start of the pandemic. And I thought Emil got it absolutely spot on, of which only half the amount thrown in there during World Cup 2080. Emil, absolutely superb. And when I read that, I was on the floor. I thought that was magic, absolutely brilliant. We've all seen the photographs and how many times those photographs got reproduced of beer flying all over the place,
flying everywhere.
Yeah, and I think anyone who was in the Strawberry at any of the games, I was there with some good friends of mine. There was a couple of pints spilt on the table, but nothing compared to some of the bigger scenes that I think you witnessed, Steve, down at the Centre for Life on that particular time.
No, it was fantastic. Well, there we go. Emil, well done. You are the winner this week of... Fantastic. Great stuff. Into the last half hour. I don't know where this 2 hours goes on a Friday. Anyway, I am delighted tonight to welcome the chair of United Pride, Mr. If I can bring him on, bear with us. The technicalities. There we go. Mr. Ian Pearson-Brown. Good evening.
Good evening, gents. How we doing? All right?
Yeah, good to see you. You're the chair of United with Pride, and United has one ambassador. And before we get into the little interview and the bit of plug, I just want to play the video which has been doing the rounds on social media.
This isn't just about me.
It's not just about me.
Or me.
This is about you and me.
This is about us.
This is about everyone we connect with.
Everyone who makes our club.
Everyone who makes our community.
This is about celebrating what makes every one of us different.
Because that's what makes us united.
United as one.
United as one.
United as one.
Ian, I love that. Simple, effective, black and white and beautiful. That is great. And that is something which, I've got to be honest, whether you watch a goal that goes in off a Newcastle player, one of your favourite goals, or whether you watch something like that, that makes you proud to be a Newcastle fan when you see that.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of the club gets a lot of negative press amongst the fans about all the things they're doing wrong, and it's not often you get to talk about them doing something well, but they do actually do this really well. So United's one was launched in 2018 in April for the Southampton match when we beat them 3-1 under Rafa, and launched that video. There was 11 ambassadors, including myself, a mixture of players, past and present, fans and staff from the club. Since its launch, it has worked to try and tackle prejudice in the sport. The reason why I'm here tonight is because I responded on Twitter to somebody who was claiming the club do nothing to challenge hate crime, because obviously we've had a week of players being racially abused on social media and things like that. So, and I just wanted to correct that. I just want to come on and say, actually, they do a lot. Since its launch, it's an umbrella organisation that includes the Newcastle United Disabled Supporters Group, my group, which is United with Pride, the LGBT inclusive fans group. They started a memory cafe to help those elderly fans who suffer with dementia. They've increased the profile of the women's team to encourage more women to get involved in football. They've even converted hospitality boxes, which they usually make money out of, a couple of boxes into sensory rooms for kids who've got autism, so they can enjoy the game without suffering for the noise in the stadium and things like that. Give them ear defenders if they want to sit in the crowd. So there's loads of things go on that perhaps don't get a lot of press that the club still do, which within the community, which is fantastic and should be highlighted a bit more. The one that's just been announced jointly by the foundation and the club recently is they've just got some funding to go into schools in the Newcastle area and talk about hate crime in football and talk about racism in football, to try and put education into the younger generation, to make sure that that's how you tackle discrimination and prejudice, you through education, and that's what the club tries to do.
You talk a little bit about the racism there. It's been, something which, we've campaigned against, the kind of stuff that we see on social media a lot. I've been a victim to it, and I just did what I thought was right. I addressed the situation. I stood up against the people who were having a pop at me, and to be honest, I think that's done me the world of good personally. But however, I just feel that what it's actually done is it's changed a lot of people's mindsets, and I hate to see, people having a pop at people on social media. It's awful. Do you think that maybe the fact that it's now getting raised at a higher level, that we're seeing more of this happen with celebrities, that celebrities will make a stance and we will see something change, Ian? Because, it can't go on, can it? Do you think we'll see maybe the banning of anonymous accounts, or a way of producing your identity so that you can only have one account on social media? Do you think that's what will happen?
I certainly hope so. It's certainly what myself, the club and the police, when we get together and talk about the online hate crime that we receive at United with Pride, it's things that we've been talking about for quite a long time, trying to get the social media platforms to make the users be more accountable for what they say and do. At the end of the day, and this is what people often don't realise, that if you type something on social media that is prejudicial to one of the 9 characteristics protected by the Equality of Law in the UK for 2010, that is a crime. It's called malicious communication and is prosecutable in the court of law. So you can be prosecuted and given a criminal conviction if you type stuff on social media. And people quite often think, I couldn't get away with saying it in the street or in the stadium these days or whatever, but I could get away with doing it online. And actually, we're hoping all the mechanisms are in place. So if you've ever seen this symbol in the ground, you'll see a text line number with it on the posters, on the videos and things like that, where you can report via text what you've seen. The club can use CCTV footage. They can, if it's an online, if they screenshot the information, they can take the details and try and track down the person that's doing it if they're associated with the club. And they can get the police involved as well if it's a serious one. And they can track these people. It is difficult to do at the moment to get a prosecution, but the laws there. We just need the social media companies to do a better job of catching those trolls and making, as you say, the accounts people set up have some sort of contact where you can identify the perpetrator.
Newcastle are obviously taking a bit of a lead on this. What's it like at other Premier League clubs? Do they get similar support, or are there similar initiatives at other clubs?
There is the Premier League have an inclusion audit that requires certain things for all clubs to do. What Newcastle do is above and beyond the minimum expected, since they've launched this diversity and inclusion brand. In fact, the United One brand was nominated for a Fan Engagement Award in 2019. Who'd have thought Newcastle United would get nominated for a Fan Engagement Award? But they were, and justifiably so. Lucy Oliver, who is the lead at the club on this, does a magnificent job of promoting this type of work. And I would say we get as much support. There's around 35 LGBTQI plus inclusive fans groups around the UK. I would say we get a lot of support off the club. Certainly pre-COVID, we were getting a lot of help, whether it be to help us with in-stadium displays. They arranged for War Flags to do a banner the length of the stadium with an inclusion message. So they've put a massive welcome mat outside the stadium before. They're now, like I say, going into schools and working with young kids from different backgrounds to basically try and open football up and to show that football is for everybody.
I did have a look on your Twitter account, and I saw a lot of people with these bunny scarves. What's that all about, Ian?
That's these things here. So obviously I'm the chair of United with Pride, which was founded before United as one, and it is twofold. It is to show that football is an inclusive space for people like myself who is gay to be my authentic self in stadium or when supporting Newcastle and watching Newcastle, to break down barriers and stigmas and stereotypes, but also to report online hate crime and in-stadium hate crime as well. Part of the things we do is visibility, because I used to be a kid growing up, sat in the stadium with 52,000 other people, thinking I was literally the only gay in the St James's Park Village, because nobody ever told me otherwise. Nobody told me it was okay to be gay and involved in football. So I always kept it sort of hidden. I was always frightened of getting abused or something like that, when actually I had nothing to worry about, because we know that our football fans are some of the best in the world, and they are now. I stand in the Gallagher Den sometimes waving a massive rainbow flag, and I get people shaking my hand and things like that, which is just a complete turnaround. Because what you got to bear in mind is, if you sit in a stadium and you think you're the only one with a problem, that causes you big mental health problems. And the club also obviously promote good mental health through their Be a Game Changer NUFC Foundation campaign, and that all helps with that. Visibility helps with that. And the most popular thing we've had are these scarves, where they're a mixture of black and white, and they've got a little bit of rainbow tassels at the end. And they've been on Match of the Day. They've been featured in the National Football Museum and elsewhere, and we've still got some in stock at the moment. If anybody wants one, you can head over to United with Pride socials, and you'll be able to purchase one there. All profits raised do go back into future visibility projects through us. None of it goes to the club.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, a lot of people in the comments just saying they can't believe this, they hadn't heard of it, hadn't heard of the initiative, I mean, that's the thing. Unfortunately, social media only goes so far. Not everyone sees everyone else's comments. But, coming on to shows like this to be able to promote it is a big thing. Just really want to talk about footballers in generally. And this is a question from me, which is just coming to me at the top of my head. I've just watched the Justin Fashanu documentary on Sky Documentaries, and I've watched a few of these programmes. Do you think it would be massively beneficial if there was a footballer could actually come out? Because we've seen it with rugby players, high profile rugby players, but we haven't seen it with footballers, because there is that fear, I suppose, at this moment in time still, even though I haven't got crowds in at the moment. When you get crowds in, that there would be ridiculed, or that there would be, but I still think it would be massively beneficial if somebody came out. And sadly, Justin Fashanu, we all know that he took his own life,
Yeah, so it would be, particularly from the media's point of view, because the media's portrayal of this, the point that sport is the last great bastion of homophobia, because obviously in women's sport, there's a lot of LGBT women who play sport, and there's fair representation. Then you look at other parts of culture in the UK, there's plenty of LGBT representation there. And we look in men's sport, and that's not just football, it's tennis, it's cricket. I work in sport full time. I have done for 20 years. I'm actually a tennis coach, and there's no more role models in my sport than there are in football. And like I say, Justin Fashanu was the only person who have come out as a top professional player. At the time he came out, it probably wasn't a good time for him to do it. I think if he was alive today and did that process now, I think it would be very differently received by the media and by the fans in general. There is an issue specifically with football about tribalism, so when you're the away fan, you want to find any way you can to put off your opposing player. So there is a fear that something like that could happen. We're also a global game, and obviously there are so many countries in the world that don't endorse LGBT as a legal lifestyle, if you like. And obviously we're a global sport, and they will have contracts and looking to their image rights and such like, and not wanting to perhaps damage those. We don't know what the agents say to any footballer who has been closeted in the past. So what I would say it's not just the crowd, and it's not just the any abuse that gets hurled at them, because if it was, sports like tennis and golf would have those male role models, LGBT role models. So it isn't just the crowd, we know that. What I will say about it, though, is that the work that the club do and people like us do with the visibility projects, that all helps to create a better environment for players to then become their authentic selves, because they'll know they will get support in the stadium from the vast majority of people. What we found is when we've done stuff, especially online, is that we get an initial kickback of people being homophobic, biphobic, transphobic, and it's what's the point of this, and when are we going to have a straight pride and all the rest of it. And then once we responded to that, then it all goes quiet and everybody just sort of like, oh, well, we'll just accept it and carry on. So there's usually an initial response, but then it becomes generally accepted. And that's what we would expect to happen if somebody came out.
Great stuff. Well, where can people find out more, Ian? Just want to give it a bit of a plug.
Yeah, so United as One is on the club's official website. They have a text line number if you come across anything in stadium that you don't like the sound of or like the look of, you think it's being prejudicial or abusive, racist abuse, homophobic abuse, you can text the club and they will deal with it 100% of the time. They've got an email address as well. If you come across something online, you can screenshot it, send it to them, they'll deal with it. So this is again, if you come across something that you're not sure of, you can always ask them. If it's specific to LGBT, you can ask us at United with Pride, and we're on social media, Facebook and Twitter as well. So, but yeah, the text line number is literally everywhere in the stadium. If you're a season ticket holder, you can't have missed it. I know this because ended up with my mugshot being stuck on the Gallagher end for like 6 months. The number of photographs that I get from mates saying, "Oh, I've just passed you on the bus."
There's worse places to have mugshots, mate, believe you me. A lot of people have written books about have had them in worse places. Hashtag 9Talk, Miss Lily has said, hi Ian, sorry to be bothering you on here. I was wondering if the Pride scarf could be done with the Pride rainbow one side and bi on the other. That would be great, thank you. So just obviously commenting. I'm sure she contact you on Twitter, can't you?
Yeah. Get direct touch and we'll see what we can do.
Great stuff. Well, if there's anything you've ever got coming up, give us a shout, because we're here all the way through lockdown, but this show will certainly be continuing after we get back to some kind of normality. But Ian, thanks for taking time out. Thanks for coming on.
Just one thing I will say is it's just suddenly occurred to me because Newcastle actually hosts UK Pride this year. So Northern Pride, the Pride that always goes on Newcastle, is actually UK Pride this year. It was meant to be last year, got cancelled, going to be this year. And Newcastle United are getting heavily involved with it, sponsoring the health and wellbeing. And it is a family doubt as much as anything. And we encourage any Newcastle United fan to come on the march with us. We're going to have United with Pride Toonami on the march down Northumberland Street. And we want any fan from any background to come down, bring their Newcastle shirt with them, and just go for a walk and sing chants and sing songs, and that way you show the LGBT community that our sport is welcome and open to them.
Ian, that's fantastic. Well, listen, anything you need to plug, maybe so you can come back on a bit nearer the time about that. But you're always welcome on the show, mate. Keep up the great work. Lots of positivity in the chat for you, mate. But have a good weekend. Quick prediction for tomorrow's game.
I think we're going to sneak it 1-0. I think Southampton will really try and make it hard for us to score. I think we'll sit back after that humiliation of the other day, and I think it'll be similar to the second half against Sheffield, but I do think we'll just sneak it.
Okay, great stuff, mate. Ian, you take care. Have a good weekend. Don't let the football spoil it.
I'll try not to.
Take care. Great to have you on. Do some fantastic work, and always good to have different people on to the show. We've had a fantastic night for that, Steve. But it is time to talk about the competition. So, Steve, over to you whilst Mitch goes off and gets another shot and another can. Here he comes. He's back. Right, go on then, Steve. I'll leave it to you.
Right. Well, we've got we've had 3 questions, haven't we? We've seen 3 questions, and these 3 questions are clues that are going to lead you into the final question. So the first question was a series of numbers.
Do you want me to go through them again?
Yeah. Pop them up, Steve, and I'll talk over them. So that was your first clue. 54.996306 minus 1.540402. So, Mitch, are you any idea on that one?
Not a bloody clue, mate.
Right, I'll tell you, it's a set of coordinates.
Right, that makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah, it's a set of coordinates that you and I should know about more than
St. James's Park.
No, it's a little bit closer to where we live than where Steve lives. I tell you, it's in Wallsend.
Wallsend Boys Club.
Correct. Well, Wallsend Boys Club. So there's clue number one. You've got Wallsend Boys Club.
Okay, okay.
Right, so there's your first one. So then the second one is the black and white top. McEwen's Lager.
It's
1993, 94 season?
93, 94, yeah.
Right, so what we're looking for is someone linked to Wallsend Boys Club who also wore that shirt during the 1993-94 season.
Wait, it's about 4 or 5 then, so okay.
Yeah. So you got about 4 or 5. So should we leave that one open?
Okay, so you want the next one?
Yeah, pop the next question up, Steve. Right. So this particular person who wore that shirt made 217 appearances in it, and he scored 24 goals. So what I'm looking for is a name, which is going to lead you into the fourth and final question that is going to take us to finding a winner tonight. So 217 games, 24 goals. Wasn't famous of all of those players at Wallsend Boys Club, Mitch. He wasn't famous for scoring. In fact, he used to crack open the box.
Right. Lee Clark.
Correct.
Of course, Lee Clark, who is a friend of the show. However, a lot of people are getting a bit premature here. Now, this made me laugh because John, who is from QTech, who set the competition for the £100 in M&S prizes, said that there's a lot of people last night were already saying the answer is Lee Clark. But of course, it's not the answer for the question tonight, is it? The overall question. So if you got Lee Clark, you're only halfway there.
That's right. Well, you're 3/4 of the way there, Steve.
3/4 of the way there, yeah.
The fourth question. So tonight's question, right? And Lee Clark is obviously tied into this. And the first one who pops up on the screen that John sees will be the winner of the prize. Which team did he manage to a record run, and how many games did that record run last?
Hey, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
You're out of it, you. So, a record run of unbeaten games, and how many games were there? We want the club and want the number of games.
And then he got sacked.
Yes. Because he did too good.
I think I've seen the winner on the YouTube chat. I think I've seen the winner, but I'm leaving it to John.
Isn't football shit sometimes?
Imagine.
You can do something like that and then get sacked.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Okay. We're getting inundated with answers, but John from QDEC, who should be watching it now, I think I know the answer, but I'm not going to say it because I'm waiting for John to say who won, and then I can announce it. I think he said he was going to send us a message on WhatsApp. So John, if you're listening, give us a message on WhatsApp, and I'll tell you who the winner is. Let's look ahead to tomorrow's game whilst John is sorting out the winner. Again, I think I know who the winner is. Send us a WhatsApp, John, so that I can get that. But yes, Newcastle face Southampton in their second home game of the week tomorrow. Not that it matters because we can't go, but it is a good old-fashioned 3:00 kickoff on a Saturday. It is live on BT Sports. As has already been covered at the start of the show, Newcastle are short-handed at the back. Fernandes, Lascelles, Dummett are all injured. Jamal Lewis is doubtful. Kieran Clark's about to become a dad and may have to go to the hospital, but of course he may be available, which we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we have resubmitted the 25-man squad before this game. Christian Atsu will fill the spot that has been vacated by DeAndre Yedlin. And as far as Southampton's concerned, well, Ralph Hasenhüttl's side did lose 9-0 against Manchester United, equaling the Premier League record on Tuesday night. They were down to 10 men in the second minute when Jankovic was dismissed. And then obviously they lost Ben Narek as well, who was also red carded. However, they appealed against that red card and he is now available. Oriol Romeo, Yannick Westergaard, Kyle Walker-Peters were all missing at Old Trafford, but were all back training this week. Theo Walcott, Diallo, Obafemi, Smallbone, Teller and Salisu and Armstrong are all expected to be unavailable at St James's Park tomorrow. The Saints obviously had to play essentially some under 23 players and fill the bench with under 23 players, so it's still
and they didn't fill their bench either. They had 2 keepers on the bench and they're still missing 1.
Yeah, that's right. So it's it's interesting to see what team he puts out tomorrow. So interesting game. We have a winner. Keith Roll is the winner of the £100 vouchers, according to John. So well done, Keith. Well done, son. And thank you to qtechshop.co.uk for putting that prize in. £100 worth of Marks and Spencer's vouchers going to you, and that'd be very welcome, I suppose, in this current climate. So well done to you. What was the answer?
The answer was Huddersfield Town, and he went unbeaten for 43 games.
Yeah.
And as Mitch says, then he got the sack. 43 game run.
Because I think weren't about 29 of them draws.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't shoot the messenger. If he wasn't the winner, I take no responsibility for that. This is only... I guarantee we will get somebody who says they were first, and if that's the case, John, that'll be down to you, mate. So I'll leave it to you. So let's look ahead to the game, lads, before we finish off. Steve, your predictions, please.
Right. Well, my sister-in-law's a midwife, so I could always send her along tonight and see if she can hurry them up if you want. To Kieran's wife, if he wants, our partner. You know, we can sort that out. Is this game being played at St James's Park, Steve, or is it being played at? It's Freeman's. It's not. Freeman Hospital, because we seem to have so many injured players that seem to be linked. They might as well play it at Paddy Freeman. then the rest of that team, the rest of their teammates can look out the window. You know, where's it going to go? Dear me, you know, it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, the last thing you'd want to play. Well, normally in normal circumstances, a football club would love to play a team that's just been turned over 9-0. But this is Newcastle. And you just know that if there's ever a bunch of whipping boys who are going to turn around and go, you know, we'll let you get back on the straight and narrow after such a hammering, then it'll be us. You know, that's the sort of thing that would happen. I just don't, you know, second half against Leeds, a decent performance against Everton. And for all people are saying that we played well in midweek against Palace, anyone who's seen that video that I put up on Twitter of that goal that they scored, where from behind the goal you see the lack of urgency, the lack of ability, the lack of defensive coordination that allowed that player to strike that ball from the edge of the box. I wonder what's going on with that football team in terms of who's coaching them and what's happening, because that, for me, summed up the worst of football in Newcastle United. I would have expected better at under 14 level, to be perfectly honest. It was please go and have a look, not just because it's my Twitter account, just go at anyone's Twitter account and see, because I'm sure it's been retweeted. But you see the lack of movement, the lack of any cohesion, the lack of pushing and defending properly, the lack of pressing the ball, the lack of everything that defensive football is supposed to be about, closing down everything, and they basically threw that game away. They threw that game away after going in front so early. Players just sort of decided they were going to walk through. I'm worried about tomorrow, Steve. I think we'll get beat again. I think we'll get beat. I think it could be 2-0. I think it could be a 2-0 defeat.
Wow, I hope you're wrong. Mitch, give us your take. I'm glad to say that there is no arguments in the chat. Life Goals did get in with Huddersfield, but he didn't get in with a number of games. And that's where Keith Roll did. So well done, John from QTech, watching it. It's a good job having a good referee. £100 worth of M&S vouchers, as I say, for him. Mitch, your take on the game tomorrow, mate.
Simple as this. Who's making the decisions? Who's in charge? Where is our leadership? If that is sorted out, and we have that in place, even with the injuries and doubts we have, against a Southampton team who, in spite of one red card being turned over, they still have and won't have a full bench, They'll have 2 keepers on their bench, and most of that team will be filled with reserves and young lads. We should look at that and still lap it up. But I think the key decisions are who was picking the team, who was deciding the tactics, and where's that coming from? Where's our leadership? And if our leadership is not present, if that's Steve Bruce, he needs to be present. He needs to be not making flippant comments about players being out of the squad. He needs to be not being shirty or petulant in press conferences about the coach who's been brought in, who may or may not have had his decision involved in it. That's what we need. And in the right circumstances, we should come away with 3 points. But will we? And only tomorrow's going to tell with that. And what worries me is all of these things are not clear. All of these things are still a gamble. All of these things stink at the end of the day. And we need to see what's going to happen with our midfield to forward line connection, and what kind of back four we'll put out. Because I'm presuming we're going to play a back four, because apparently that's what we play now. But if you look at the players we've got available, I think that's all we can play. And it's bizarre that we've gone from a point of view looking at Husson Hattel saying about, well, who am I going to play in the next game, to us saying, who are we going to play in the next game, is typical Newcastle United. For me, I still think we should win, and I'm going to take we're by the odd goal in 3, 2-1 win. I just hope we don't go 1-0 down first, because the reaction when we conceded that equaliser against Palace was worrying for me. All the insecurities came out. We went back into our shell. We didn't know what to do with it. And that's nothing to do with anybody who's come in. It's everything to do with the regime that's been there long enough, who's apparently now doing it, quote unquote, his way.
Okay, great stuff. Great show tonight. Lots of people very happy. Don't forget, I have released a single. So here we go. Praise the Lord. The Blind Beggars featuring Reggie Cray. And that is now available live on iTunes. So if you go to iTunes, it is 99 pence. And all proceeds are going to go to the food bank. So get yourself on there. You never know, if we get enough people buying the single, we might get to number 1 with Reggie Cray. Wouldn't that be funny? But yes, well worth a look. I am going to play out. Thank you to Media Arts, who do a lot of our videos. They have done a video for it. So before I say goodnight to you lads, let's listen to the tune. Let's keep an ear out for Reggie Cray, and let's see if you can spot Steve Wraith.
This will help to make you happy, 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 happy. My friends, this will help to make you happy, 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 happy. My friends, I wish I could be with
Steve, I just put my shoulder out, man. Dancing. I can't do that every week.
Yeah, please buy the track and make a difference. Listen, if we get anywhere near the charts, it'll be a miracle, that like. But listen, it shows you can laugh at yourself. I often get, he's a Tory bald nonce. Well, he's one of the he knows the crazy now. And I thought, I've got all of this audio of Reggie Cray. Let's put it to good use. Let's try and raise some money for the food bank. Add a little bit of Wraith and have a laugh at yourself. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing that you do, isn't it? So look, please get onto iTunes. It's up there now. Buy a copy. It's 99 pence. All proceeds to the food bank. Lots of positivity coming in for it. And thank you very much for your support. If you can do it, I'll stick it in the chat again as well, and I'll post it as a basically as a separate video on the channel. Please get yourself on there and just give it a share. But Steve Hastie, Mitch, what a show, eh?
It's been great, hasn't it? Absolutely brilliant. And, that's got you excited now, because I cannot wait to get back into the pub. I can't wait to get back talking with my mates and having a, we've chatted about stuff that, Alan at the start, Ian at the end. Ian's great. I was at a couple of those meetings. Well, one meeting in particular where that's come out of the fans forum where Ian was present, and all the diversity stuff, and just being together again, just Newcastle fans together. That's what we want. We want to get back to the match. We want to get back in the pub, and hopefully, in a few months' time, we might see some light at the end of the tunnel, Steve. But until then, we'll keep watching videos like that, listening to Alan talking about what he's doing, listening to Ian, and having a bit of banter on here, a bit of football chat that just take our mind off everything else that's going on.
Yeah, that's all we need. That's all we need. Fantastic show. Lots of positivity with a tune. If you all buy it, there's 550 there listening to it. If you all buy it, that's 550 quid to the food bank. It's 99 pence. Get yourself onto iTunes. Just look out for that. Craze the Lord, Blind Beggars, featuring Reggie Cray. I'm back tomorrow, 2:30, with the lads to cover the Southampton game. We'll be looking at the team lineup and then going straight into the game to talk you through it. Big shout out to Spider VPN, our main sponsors for this month, qtechshop.co.uk and Jab Signature, as well as Crosspaths and Media Arts. Neil at Media Arts does a cracking job with all of our videos. Big shout out to him. And then we'll be back on Sunday afternoon with Gavin Peacock to talk Newcastle United, to talk about his cover of his new book, which I'm sure a lot of people want to know why he didn't pick Newcastle, but A Greater Glory from Pitch to Pulpit. We will be talking to Gavin. He'll be looking back at the game at the weekend and ultimately talking about the book. So happy days. Joe Walker says, where do we get the Jab top from? Contact Jab Signature on Twitter. He is just launching the brand, so have a look going, and he will be able to help you out. John at Jab. It is on Amazon Music as well, Paul. It is on all the downloads, so get yourself on there. And Dave says 99 pence, cheap it off the price. Thanks, lads. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. I'm off to have a cup of tea and watch Coronation Street. Mitch, Steve, take care, lads. Great to have you on. See you next week.
Right. See you next week, guys.
Cheers, lads.
Bye, lads.